The storm outside the Thorne estate was merciless. But it was nothing compared to the freezing temperature inside the master bedroom. Lily clutched her stomach, her knuckles turning white as she leaned against the cold marble wall. Pain, sharp and rhythmic, tore through her body. She reached for the intercom, her fingers trembling uncontrollably. Lily whispered, her voice breaking. "Julian, please. It hurts. The baby." The intercom crackled, but it wasn't her husband's deep voice that answered. It was Victoria, her mother-in-law. Victoria's voice dripped with disdain through the speaker. "Stop your theatrics. Lily, Julian is at the gala with Isabella. He doesn't have time for your desperate cries for attention. Go back to sleep." Lily sobbed, sliding down the wall to the floor. "No. I'm bleeding. Please. Call an ambulance." The line went dead. The silence that followed was heavy. Suffocating, Lily tried to crawl toward the door, dragging her heavy body across the plush carpet. Every inch was a battle. She could feel the life slipping away from her. And more terrifyingly, from the unborn child she had tried so hard to protect. Isabella appeared at the doorway moments later. Not to help, but to watch. She stood there in a stunning red evening gown, holding a glass of champagne, looking down at Lily, like one would look at a wounded insect. Isabella took a sip of her drink and smiled cruelly. "You really don't get it. Do you? Julian doesn't want the child. He doesn't want you. If you disappear tonight, it solves a problem for all of us." Lily reached out a hand, her vision blurring. "Help. Me." Isabella simply turned on her heel, closing the heavy oak door with a decisive click. The lock turned from the outside. Lily screamed. "Arav." Guttural sound that was swallowed by the thunder outside, alone in the darkness, surrounded by the luxury that had become her cage. Lily closed her eyes. Her heart stopped beating just as the clock struck midnight. 3 weeks later, the Thorne estate was draped in black. But the atmosphere was more celebratory than mournful. The funeral for Lily had been a quiet affair, quickly swept under the rug to protect the family's reputation. They claimed she died of a sudden illness. Julian Thorne sat in his study, staring at a glass of scotch. He felt a strange hollowness he couldn't explain, a nagging guilt he tried to drown in alcohol. Suddenly, the heavy double doors of the estate blasted open. The wind from the storm outside rushed into the grand foyer, extinguishing the candles. The butler, terrified, stammered, Madam, but you are dead." Victoria and Isabella rushed down the grand staircase, their faces draining of color, standing in the center of the hall, drenched in rain, was a woman. She looked exactly like Lily. The same raven hair, the same pale skin, the same delicate features. But the eyes were different. Lily's eyes had been soft, like a frightened deer. This woman's eyes were dark, bottomless pits of cold calculation. Scarlett posing as Lily stepped forward, the click of her heels echoing like gunshots on the marble floor. She didn't shrink away. She didn't tremble. Scarlett smoothed her wet hair back, revealing a jagged scar on her temple, a fake detail she had added to sell the story of a miraculous survival. "I hear you buried me," she said, her voice low and smoky, lacking the high-pitched anxiety of her sister. "It seems death didn't want me either." Victoria gripped the banister, gasping, "Ghost. It's a ghost." Isabella stepped forward, her hands shaking. "This is impossible. I saw you. I mean," the doctor said. Scarlett tilted her head, a shark-like grin spreading across her face. "You saw what?" "Isabella, what exactly did you see?" Julian emerged from the shadows of the hallway. He stared at his wife, disbelief warring with shock. He walked toward her, reaching out a hand. Julian whispered. Lily. Scarlett looked at him. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She simply stared at him with an intensity that made him step back. Scarlett replied, Hello. Husband. I'm home. The next morning, the breakfast table was a battlefield. The servants whispered in the corners. Terrified of the ghost-eating toast at the head of the table, Victoria tried to maintain her composure, but her spoon clinked nervously against her teacup. Victoria cleared her throat, her eyes narrowing. If you are truly alive, why didn't you contact us? And your manners? You're eating like a barbarian. Scarlett sliced through her steak with surgical precision. The knife scraped against the porcelain, a harsh sound that made Isabella flinch. I was busy crawling out of the hell you left me in. Mother, survival taught to change a person's etiquette. Isabella, trying to regain dominance, laughed nervously. Oh, Lily, you're still hysterical. Maybe you need your medication again, the one that makes you sleep. Scarlett stopped chewing. She slowly placed her knife and fork down. She picked up the glass of orange juice, the one Isabella had personally poured for her. Scarlett stood up and walked over to Isabella. You know, I developed a very keen sense of smell in the hospital. Isabella stiffened. What are you doing? Scarlett poured the entire glass of juice onto Isabella's lap. Isabella shrieked, jumping up as the sticky liquid ruined her designer dress. You crazy bitch. Victoria slammed her hand on the table. Lily apologized immediately. Scarlett didn't look at Victoria. She grabbed Isabella by the jaw. Her grip like iron. It was a physical strength Lily never possessed. Scarlett whispered into Isabella's ear, loud enough for Julian, who had just entered, to hear. If you ever try to drug my food again, Isabella, I won't pour it on your dress. I'll pour it down your throat. Julian froze in the doorway. He had never seen his wife touch anyone, let alone threaten them. He watched the scene, a strange mix of horror and fascination rising in his chest. This wasn't the fragile flower he had married. This was a poisonous vine. Late that night, while the house slept, Scarlett was awake. She sat in Julian's office, bypassing the biometric lock on his computer with a device she had brought from her previous life as a corporate mercenary. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She wasn't looking for money. She was looking for the timeline. Scarlett muttered to herself. Dime stump. Midnight. Call logs. Deleted. She pulled up the security footage from the night Lily died. The files were corrupted, erased by a professional. But Scarlett was better. She ran a recovery algorithm, watching the progress bar crawl forward. The door handle turned. Scarlett didn't panic. She minimized the window instantly and swiveled the chair around, just as Julian entered. Julian looked suspicious. He wore a silk robe, his chest bare. What are you doing in my office? Lily, you never come in here. Scarlett stood up. Walking around the desk, she leaned against the edge, crossing her legs. Maybe I got tired of waiting in the bedroom. You used to complain I was too passive. Julian, too boring. Julian walked closer, trapped by her gaze. You're not her, he said softly. You look like her. You sound like her, but you're not her. Lily was afraid of thunder. Tonight, you stood on the balcony and watched the storm. Scarlett stepped into his personal space. She reached up, adjusting the collar of his robe, her fingers brushing against his skin. Trauma changes people. Julian, or maybe you never really knew your wife at all. Did you ever look at her? Really look at her? Julian caught her hand. Who are you? Scarlett pulled her hand away, her eyes turning icy. I'm the woman who survived, and I'm the woman who is going to find out exactly what happened that night. Be careful. Julian, if I find out you were involved, I won't just divorce you. I will bury this entire company. She walked past him, leaving the scent of a dangerous, unfamiliar perfume in the air. Julian stood there, his heart racing. He wasn't scared. For the first time in years, he was obsessed. The Thorne annual charity gala was the event of the season. The ballroom was filled with the city's elite, politicians, and business tycoons. Victoria and Isabella were holding court, convinced that Lily had been subdued. They had spent the last week spreading rumors that Lily had returned with severe brain damage and was mentally unstable. Victoria raised a toast on the stage, to family, and to resilience. Despite the difficulties with my daughter-in-law's mental health, we remain strong. The crowd politely applauded. Isabella smirked from the side. Suddenly, the giant screen behind the stage flickered. The polite classical music cut out, replaced by a sharp screech of static. Scarlett stepped onto the balcony overlooking the ballroom. She wore a dress of crimson red, the color of vengeance. She held a microphone. Scarlett's voice boomed through the speakers. "Thank you, Mother, for your concern, but my memory is actually quite excellent. In fact, I'd like to share a memory with everyone tonight." Isabella panicked. Cut the feed. Cut the mic. But Scarlett had already hacked the system. The screen behind Victoria flared to life. It wasn't the corrupted footage. It was a backup recording from the internal baby monitor system, the one device Isabella had forgotten to disable because she didn't think it recorded video. On the massive screen, the audience watched the horrifying scene from Phase 1. They heard Lily begging. They heard Victoria's cruel dismissal. They saw Isabella drinking champagne while Lily crawled on the floor, dying. The ballroom went deathly silent. The clinking of glasses stopped. Scarlett pointed a finger down at the stage. "You didn't just kill my sister," she declared, her voice thundering, dropping the charade of being Lily. "You tortured her." Julian, standing in the crowd, watched the screen, his face turning ashen white, the glass in his hand shattered. Cutting his palm, he looked up at the woman on the balcony. The woman he realized now was not Lily. Scarlett continued, "Lily Thorne is dead. I am Scarlett, and I am here to collect the debt." Pandemonium erupted. Police sirens, which Scarlett had called beforehand, wailed in the distance. Isabella tried to run, but security guards hired by Scarlett blocked the exits. Victoria collapsed on stage, feigning a heart attack. But no one moved to help her. Julian sprinted up the stairs to the balcony. He burst through the doors, chest heaving, blood dripping from his hand. Julian shouted, "Scarlett, stop." Scarlett turned to face him. She held a detonator in her hand, metaphorical. But to Julian, it felt real. "Why are you going to save them?" Julian, "The mother who raised a coward, the mistress who murdered your child." Julian fell to his knees. The revelation of the child, his child, broke him. "I didn't know. I swear to God. I didn't know she was pregnant. I was indifferent. Yes, but I never wanted her dead." Scarlett walked over to him. She looked down. On her expression, unreadable. Indifference is a weapon. "Julian, you loaded the gun. They just pulled the trigger." Julian looked up, tears streaming down his face. "I loved her. In my own way, I failed her." Scarlett scoffed. "You loved the idea of her. You loved that she was weak and needed you. Until she became a burden. Lily died calling your name. Remember that." Below them, the police were handcuffing Isabella. Victoria was being led away, screaming obscenities. The Thorne Empire was crumbling in real time, live streamed to the world. Julian reached for Scarlett's hem. "And what about you? You played me. You made me fall for you these past weeks." Scarlett pulled her dress away from his bloody grip. "I needed access. I needed your fingerprint to open the vault. I needed your apathy to blind you. I felt nothing for you. Julian, you were just a lock I had to pick. A month later, the Thorne estate was silent. It had been seized by the government as part of the investigation into the Thorne family's corruption evidence Scarlett had conveniently released alongside the murder tapes. Julian sat on a park bench, watching the autumn leaves fall. He had lost his company, his reputation, and his family. He was a free man, as Scarlett had testified that he wasn't present during the murder. But he was a broken man. A black sedan pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Scarlett sat in the back seat. She wore sunglasses, looking every bit the powerful CEO she was in her own life abroad. Julian walked over to the car. He looked older. Tired. You left me nothing, he said softly. Scarlett lowered her glasses. I left you your life. Use it better than you did the last one. Julian gripped the window frame. Was any of it real? The dinner last week? The way you looked at me? Scarlett paused. For a fleeting second. The mask slipped. She saw the regret in his eyes. The genuine pain. She remembered how Lily had written about him in her diary, how much she had loved him despite his coldness. Scarlett replied, Lily loved you. Julian, that was the only real thing in this whole house. And you threw it away. She signaled the driver. The window rolled up, severing the connection. Julian stood alone on the sidewalk as the car merged into traffic and disappeared. He touched his chest, feeling the ghost of a heartbeat that wasn't his own. He had survived the storm, but he would drown in the memory of the gentle woman he ignored and the ruthless woman who brought him to his knees. The end.